Today we're diving into one of the most talked about games of the last few years, Cyberpunk 2077. Whether you've been a fan since its release or you're just picking up now, there is no denying that this game has had one heck of a journey. From controversial launches to major updates, the game has evolved in ways we never could have predicted. So let's talk about what makes it one of the most unique open world experiences out there and whether it's really living up to the hype now. Hey guys, my name's Tyster and this is my experience with Cyberpunk 100 hours into the game. So after seeing multiple videos on my YouTube recommended stating that the game is now fixed and incredible, I had to check it out for myself to see if they were lying or not. And I'll try my best to keep this recap as spoiler free as possible. First of all, you'll be happy to know the game is fixed. And I think that's the most important part. I know a lot of people were put off by the sheer horrific launch that the game had, and that's me included. I bought the game close to launch, encountered a number of bugs immediately, glitched under the map when I was just walking down the street. Then I decided to get my refund before I hit the 2-hour mark, i.e. the point of no return on Steam. But when I returned to the game almost 4 years after the initial launch, I was most definitely pleasantly surprised in every way. Now don't get me wrong, the game still does have its share of bugs, but to be honest, most of them are just hilarious. Whoops, my bad. Oh my god. What? That was intrusive thoughts right there. That was pure just intrusive thoughts, I'm not gonna lie. And I've never experienced anything game breaking in my runs so far. Now sometimes you won't be able to inspect your weapon, which you do so by holding down the bind to equip the weapon, but that could be fixed with a quick 2-button sequence. If you're on PC, all you need to do is hit F5 to quick save, then F9 to reload that quick save, and then Bob's your uncle. Also, after watching old gameplay of the game, I'm very happy with the updates they made to the user interface within the game, because honestly, what the fuck is this? Yeah, that is ugly as shit. Thank fuck they changed that. Now, when I first played through the game, I used guns 99% of the time. I mean, I came from an FPS background, it was just my comfort zone, and I enjoyed the game so much that I had to relive it again. So this time, on my second run, I decided to go with melee only, mainly just to work on my stealth tactics rather than just, you know, running in all guns blazing. And once I hit 100 hours played, I still hadn't completed my second playthrough yet. And that's despite the game only being around 25.5 hours long. I genuinely just had so much fun taking my time, completely changing up my style and doing every side mission I could. Now that changed my approach and the playstyle I chose. It also changed my viewpoint on the game and the perception of the mechanics too. For instance, you can change the way you spend your perk points to build your character's abilities according to the way you wish to approach combat in the game. My second time round, for example, I focused heavily on stealth and movement perks, so that I could enable myself to close the gap and equally get away from enemies as fast as possible. You know, since my ranged attacks were limited to just throwing knives only. However, once I unlocked the skill that instantly refreshes throwing knives on a headshot, I started really enjoying throwing knives. I didn't even realize until the second time round that you could even throw knives at enemies, and also that the headshots would be so satisfying. I also found use of a very interesting blunt weapon in the game. Sir John Falstaff. This is my life now. Oh, damage per hit 69. It gets better. So with my second time round, I really took more time to just, you know, enjoy the open world and side missions before jumping right into the main missions. Because honestly, even every side mission has its own interesting plot, which really surprised me. They were a lot more engaging than other single player games I'd played previously, where it was just, go here, kill these people. Congratulations. Mission complete, and hardly any other context to go with that. But in Cyberpunk, every side mission has interesting dialogue between characters, some more interesting than others.
Let's see. 2 blood-soaked dudes locked in a room with a gutted corpse. Yeah, real puzzler. Bet it'd take ages for a detective to unravel this one.
Go on. Tell her about your genius idea.
My idea? You're the one who set up the deal with
was
Dodger.
rock fucking solid. If only you didn't leave a bag of drugs in front of a junkie.
How was I supposed to know he'd swallow it?
With not having the most extensive RPG knowledge behind me, probably suffering from some sort of severe undiagnosed ADHD in my younger years, like seriously, I couldn't focus on anything longer than 5 minutes at all. And even if I did try to focus on dialogue, whether it's in a TV show or a film that I'm watching, or even a game that I'm playing, it would just go in one ear and straight out the other. Like I could hear the words coming out of their mouth, but in reality, I would only actually interpret about half or less of what they were actually saying. So, with thanks to my more than patient Twitch chat, thank you guys so much for that, by the way. Like, I wouldn't have had a single clue on how to even upgrade my cyberware if it wasn't for you. But I got there in the end. Now, the open world really really comes alive with the NPC immersion. By that, I mean the game really makes you feel like each character really lives within the world, and it puts you as close as possible to being in their shoes through the dialogue. Each character really expresses their POV through the stories they tell, and the emotion you can hear in their voice. By the way, shout out to the amazing voice actors for their performances. In certain situations within the game, I found myself being absolutely certain as to how I was going to approach a certain situation or reply with the dialogue options, but then the person I'm talking to would just throw a major curveball in there or reveal a very crucial piece of information that can completely change how I approach it. The game always keeps you on your toes in that regard. Although I feel like another factor that also made me think my decisions through more was the fact that choices matter. I never realized until my second playthrough just how much impact certain decisions can have on even little outcomes within the story, and not just the ending. From unlocking one-of-a-kind weapons to just in general how you were treated by other characters with relationships to people you met earlier on in the game. The choices you make can have a pretty sizable impact on your playthrough. For example, without giving too much away, on my first playthrough, one of my favorite weapons to use was only obtained through a decision I made. My second playthrough, I decided to choose the other option to see what happens, and after that, there was no way to obtain that weapon again. Unless, of course, I loaded a save from before that decision and chose the other decision. Now, rest assured, if that kind of thing is a bit off-putting to you as it kind of was to me, just know that if you have the Phantom Liberty expansion, there is a way to get most of the weapons you may have missed or been unable to obtain through the main story, but not every single one. Now, on the topic of Phantom Liberty also, just know that the expansion is amazing, with 4 more unique endings itself, including one maybe potentially relating to another very popular and critically acclaimed CD Projekt Red game. Was that a spoiler? Now, although I do love this game, I do feel like they also missed the mark a bit on its potential, and though it's perhaps not a completely fair comparison, but I can't help but think if Rockstar made this game, it just would have been that much better. First off, the game wouldn't have been allowed to release in such a state that it did, no matter how long people have been anticipating its release for. And Rockstar just has a way of getting us to almost forcefully fully interact with and immerse ourselves into the open world, but at the same time without it feeling tedious or annoying. Whereas in Cyberpunk, it feels like you really can't interact with many things properly that have been placed into the world, sometimes even with people you regularly interact with within the game. Oh, there she is. Why is she looking at like nothing? Judy, the shutter's closed, you dumbass. I can't interact with her as well. Hello? Hello? Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. The story and characters are absolutely nothing short of incredible. Like, come on, Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba? I would love to see how they're planning to top that one, by the way. Unless Project Orion has Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Reynolds, and perhaps Pedro Pascal in there somehow or something. But the game is incredible, boasting a gorgeous open world, amazing storytelling, and to be honest, a lot of replay value. And on top of that, it also has a really good animated series on Netflix, which of course is Edgerunners, which I would definitely recommend to watch if you played the game. Just make sure you have the tissues ready for the last episode. But the game is definitely worth the money you pay for it, especially considering on Steam, I seem to see it on sale more than I see Sunlight, which now that I think about it, isn't actually that often because I live in the UK, but you get the point. And even though I'm completely hooked on the game right now, I'd still give it a 9 out of 10 rating. Because of course, there's always room for improvement. Unless you're Rockstar, they just don't miss. Now I'm hoping that CDPR has now learnt their lesson moving forward with prematurely releasing an unfinished game before it's truly ready. Because honestly, that undoubtedly tarnished the game's image for a lot of people who perhaps still haven't even gone back to it yet. Which is really sad to someone like me who has had a chance to experience it the way it was truly intended. Because I feel like everyone interested in the game definitely deserves that at the very least. Nonetheless though, the game was still a very huge commercial success for them, and I can't wait to see what's in store for Project Orion.